Hey, what's up, Rise family? This is Darrin, friend of Jarrell's, part of the Rise group. Unfortunately, I live in Kerrville, so you may have not even met me yet, and that's all right. Hopefully, I'll get to come up and spend some time with y'all guys soon. But I'm just thankful to be a part of the group here with y'all, and I've only been a musician for a couple of years, but I've been pastoring for about 4.5 years. I founded a multi-church organization called Faithful Fishers, helping teach people how to evangelize, make disciples, plant gospel-centered communities, and have a 2-year Bible school called the Living Word Bible School. So today, I just wanted to come as a fellow artist, as a fellow brother, and just share a little bit about my heart and about, I really believe, the Lord's heart on what does it mean to abide in Jesus. Now, as we talk about this today, I just want to let you know that not only is this something a very important concept to understand as a Christian, as just a disciple of Jesus, but also as an artist. So, as an artist, we're always trying to kind of break through, any hindrances, any roadblocks. We're always trying to get to the next level. We're always trying to come up with something new, right? With something more creative. And really, if we want to be successful in that, and even beyond just being successful, because there's many ways you could define success. If we really want to glorify Jesus in what we do and allow Him to shine in our art, whether it's music or graphic design, whatever it is, then we need to abide in Him. After all, where better to find our inspiration and creativity rather than the author of all inspiration and creativity, the one who created stars with the word of His mouth, right? And so today, I want to just bring a couple of verses to you, or a couple of passages to you, and talk about this idea of abiding. Now, in John 15, Jesus lets us in on a little secret here, and He says, "I am the vine and you are the branches. He who abides in me and I in him bears much fruit. For without me you can do nothing. If anyone does not abide in me, he is cast out as a branch and is withered. And they gather them and throw them into the fire, and they are burned. If you abide in me and my words abide in you, you will ask what you desire, and it shall be done for you." So that's pretty good. By this my Father is glorified, that you bear much fruit. So you will be my disciples. So all through the Gospels, if you go read through Matthew, if you go read through the other Gospels, I'm pretty familiar more than anything with Matthew. And I remember when I first started really focusing on what does it mean to bear fruit, it was in the book of Matthew. And you see this consistent theme, right? That Jesus' desire for us as Christians is to bear fruit for His kingdom. In fact, here He says that if we abide in Him, that we will bear fruit, that's just the natural byproduct, and that the Father is glorified in us bearing fruit for Him. But finally, He says this, that in bearing fruit, we'll know that we're His disciples. Now, at the same time, in the midst of this encouragement, saying, hey, if you want to be successful, if you want to bear fruit, if you want to be my disciple, you need to come abide in me. Another thing He says, kind of in contrast to that, but right along, is He says, as a branch cannot bear fruit of itself, this is verse 4, unless it is in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. And He says in the next verse, without me you can do nothing. So in this moment right now, I just want to challenge you to stop and think about your creative process, right? Where you are as an artist, where you are in your pursuits. I'm sure you've got goals, releasing your next song, getting the right musicians, the right music, maybe getting a certain amount of clients, getting a gig. You have this dream, and I'm sure it's a great dream. I'm sure it's a great album. I'm sure it's a great work, whatever it is. But how much of that dream and how much of the time and the effort that you've put into that really came out of a place of just abiding in Jesus and allowing Jesus' words to abide in you? Because ultimately, when we abide, He's the one who teaches us to bear fruit. He's the one who teaches us to be creative. He's the one who allows us these gifts and allows them to mature, and He's the one that causes an increase. And so, we really have to have a good grasp on abiding in Christ in order to be faithful and to be successful as creatives. Now, real quick, I want to just address this, like, what does the word abide even mean, right? And there's a lot of kind of different ways I think people look at the word abide, but if you just do the simple thing, like if you were just to go do a Google search right now, type in the word abide, what you'll find as similar words or as the definition is things like this. It actually means to observe, to obey, to agree with, and to be conformed to. So as artists and as Christians, like Jesus' one desire is not for you to have, a successful career as an artist or to become a pastor or to become an evangelist. I mean, maybe those things are great, maybe that's part of his plan, but Jesus' first desire is for you to know him. It's for you to agree with his words, for his words to come into your heart, and for you to obey them in such a way that your mind, that your process, that your life, that your desires are conformed to Jesus's. And he promises that if we take that time, if we allow that to happen inside of us, that he will work through. He actually conforms his goodness and his grace and his mercy, and who he is, he conforms to our life situation. That's what he says. He abides in us as we abide in him. So, real quick, guys, I want to bring up a story real quick that has really been impactful in my life. Again, I've been pastoring for 4.5 years. I've led an indigenous missions organization. I've been part of several nonprofits, several movements, and just a lot of gospel work, discipleship, outreach. And because of that, I've been a very, very busy man. And I know how easy it is to get lost in the process. I know how easy it is to get lost in the work. But this is a message, I think I actually preached this same passage 3 times in 1 year because God was teaching it to me so severely. And this is in Luke chapter 10, and starting in, it's verses 38 through 42. I'm just going to paraphrase it, but it's Luke 10, 38 through 42. So what happens is Jesus comes into the home of Mary and Martha. And, as he's there, it says that Martha was working and she's serving, she's distracting by all this service, trying to be a good host, which is really what she should do. And as she's doing all this work, she looks over, and where is her sister Mary but simply sitting at the feet of Jesus? Now in her mind, she's like, oh my gosh, I'm doing all these things, and I'm going, this person, she's not helping at all. She's just sitting there. And so she gets a little bit upset. And so let me actually just read this. Starting in verse 39, it says, and she, Martha, had a sister called Mary, who also sat at Jesus' feet and heard his word. But Martha was distracted with much serving. And she approached him and said, Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Therefore tell her to help me. And Jesus answered and said to her, Martha, Martha, you are worried and troubled about many things, but one thing is needed. Jesus says one thing is needed. Mary has chosen that good part, which will not be taken away from her. Guys, Jesus' desire is not for your work, not for your service, not for your arts, not for anything you think you can bring to him, because we're called to be poor in spirit. And that means realizing that outside of Jesus, we have nothing to bring to God other than what he's given us, right? But Jesus wants us to simply, day after day, just sit at his feet. He has a message for us. He's the giver of life. He's the one who gives life and life more abundant. He is the author and the perfecter of our faith, of our art, of our culture, of our plan. Ultimately, it's God's will that will prevail in our life. So how much more, being aware of that, should we sit and receive the will of God from him as a good and loving Father? So I just want to encourage you guys that as you're working on your craft, as you're going through your creative process, make sure you're taking that time first. Make sure you're taking that time after. Make sure you're taking that time in the middle to stop, to acknowledge God, and to just sit quietly in the presence of Jesus, to find him in prayer, to ask for his wisdom, ask for his way, and to let his word and his spirit abide in you. Then truly you'll see things begin to bear fruit in a new way. Hey, go and be blessed.